The year was 2847. Humans had spread across the stars. They had colonies on distant planets. They had built ships that could travel faster than light. They had become a real power in the galaxy. Lieutenant Cole Bennett was 24 years old. He was a soldier in the United Earth Defense Fleet. He had brown hair, gray eyes, and a face that showed he had seen too much war for someone so young. He was not a hero. He was just a man doing his job. His ship was called the Starboard Drift. It was a patrol vessel, small but fast. Cole and his team were on a routine mission near the Varth system when the distress signal came through. "Sir, we are getting an emergency call," said his communications officer. "It is coming from the third moon of Varith Prime." Cole knew that moon. It belonged to the Volanthi people. They were an old race, much older than humans. They had silver skin that seemed to glow. Their eyes were violet, and they could see in the dark. They were tall and beautiful, and they cared more about art and music than war. The Volanthi had always stayed out of galactic conflicts. They did not fight. They did not take sides. They believed that violence was beneath them. That belief had not protected them. "What is happening there?" Cole asked. The answer came in the form of images on his screen. The moon was burning. Huge fires covered the forests. Cities were in ruins. Ships with black hulls were bombing everything from orbit. Cole felt his stomach turn cold. He knew those black ships. Everyone in the fleet knew them. The Keth hegemony. The Keth were the opposite of the Volanthi. They were brutal and cruel. They believed that only the strong had the right to live. They conquered world after world, taking what they wanted and destroying what they did not need. "Sir, our orders are to observe and report," said his second-in-command, a woman named Lieutenant Sarah Cole. "We cannot engage the Keth. We do not have the firepower." She was right. The Starboard Drift was a patrol ship, not a warship. Going against the Keth fleet would be suicide. "Take us down to the surface," Cole said. Sarah stared at him. "Sir, there may be survivors. We can help them escape. That is not our mission. I am making it our mission." The Starboard Drift dropped through the burning atmosphere of the moon. Cole could see the destruction up close now. The beautiful crystal towers of the Volanthi capital were broken and fallen. Bodies lay in the streets. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of death. Cole led a team of 6 soldiers into the ruins. Their mission was simple: find survivors. Get them out. Do not engage the enemy unless necessary. They moved through the broken streets carefully. The sound of weapons fire was everywhere. Keth soldiers were hunting down the survivors, killing anyone they found. Cole and his team saved 11 Volanthi in the first hour. They were scared and hurt, but they were alive. Cole sent them back to the ship with 2 of his soldiers. Then he heard the crying. It was a small sound, almost lost in the noise of the battle. A child crying. Cole followed the sound through the rubble until he found the royal palace. The palace had been beautiful once. Now it was a ruin. The roof had fallen in. The walls were cracked and broken. But somewhere inside, a child was crying. "Sir, we need to go," said one of his soldiers. "The Keth patrol is coming this way." Cole could hear them too. The heavy footsteps. The guttural voices speaking in their harsh language. They were close, maybe 2 minutes away. He went inside anyway. The child was trapped under a fallen pillar. She was small, maybe 6 years old by human standards. Her silver skin was covered in blood and dust. Her violet eyes were wide with fear. She was trying to push the pillar off her legs, but she was too weak. Cole ran to her and grabbed the pillar. It was heavy, too heavy for one man to lift. But he did not think about that. He just pulled with all his strength. His muscles screamed. His back felt like it was breaking. But slowly, the pillar moved. "Come on," he said to the girl. "Crawl out, now." She crawled free just as the pillar fell from his hands. Cole grabbed her and lifted her into his arms. She was so light, so small. The Keth soldiers appeared at the entrance of the palace. Cole did not hesitate. He ran. The first shot hit his left shoulder. Plasma fire. It burned through his armor and into his flesh. The pain was incredible, like nothing he had ever felt. But he did not stop. He could not stop. His team was waiting outside. They saw him running with the child in his arms and the Keth behind him. They opened fire, giving him cover. Cole kept running. Through the burning streets, over the bodies of the dead, past the ruined buildings. His shoulder was bleeding badly. His vision was starting to blur. But he held on to the girl, and he did not stop. The extraction point was a small clearing where the Starbound drift was waiting. Cole could see the ship through the smoke. So close. Just a little farther, a Keth soldier appeared in front of him. Cole did not have time to think. He kicked the soldier in the knee, heard it break, and kept running. He reached the ship and his team pulled him inside. The doors closed. The ship lifted off. They were safe. Cole collapsed on the floor, still holding the girl. His shoulder was a mess of burned flesh and blood. The pain was making everything dark around the edges. But the girl was safe. That was all that mattered. The medical team took over. They treated his wound and they checked the girl. She was not badly hurt. Some bruises, some cuts, but nothing serious. The girl did not speak during the journey to the human medical station. She just sat there, watching Cole with those violet eyes. He was lying on a bed while the doctors worked on his shoulder. He had lost a lot of blood. He would have a scar for the rest of his life. When the doctors were done, the girl walked over to him. She was so small that she barely reached the edge of his bed. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached out and pressed her hand against his chest, right over his heart. "I will remember," she said. Her voice was soft and her English was perfect, though she spoke with a strange accent. "I will always remember." Cole did not know what to say. He just nodded. The next day, the Volante diplomatic corps arrived to take the girl. Cole learned then who she was. Princess Lyrian of House Solvent, third in line to the Volante throne. One of the most important people in her entire civilization. He had saved her life. The Volante thanked him formally. They gave him a medal made of crystal that glowed with inner light. The human fleet gave him a promotion and a commendation for bravery. Cole did not feel like a hero. He had just done what anyone should do. He had saved a child. That was not special. That was just being human. He went back to his duties. More patrols. More missions. More battles against the Keth. The years passed and he rose through the ranks. Lieutenant became captain. Captain became commander. He fought in a dozen campaigns and earned a reputation as a man who never left anyone behind. Sometimes, late at night, he thought about the little girl with silver skin and violet eyes. He wondered if she was safe. He wondered if she remembered him. He never expected to see her again. 15 years passed since that burning night on the Volante moon. Cole Bennett was not a lieutenant anymore. He was Admiral Bennett now, commander of the entire United Earth Defense Fleet. He had earned that position through years of hard work and sacrifice. He had won battles that everyone said could not be won. He had saved thousands of lives, but he still did not think of himself as a hero. The galaxy had changed in those 15 years. The Keth hegemony had been pushed back. They were still dangerous, but they were no longer winning. Humanity had proven that it could fight. More than that, humanity had proven that it could lead. The Volante had changed too. The attack on their moon had been a wake-up call. They could no longer stay neutral. They could no longer pretend that the universe was peaceful. They had rebuilt their civilization, and they had learned to fight. Now they wanted an alliance with humanity. Cole stood in the Grand Hall of the human capital on New Geneva. He was wearing his dress uniform, white with gold trim. His medals hung on his chest. The scar on his left shoulder ached slightly, as it always did when he was nervous. He hated diplomatic events. He was a soldier, not a politician. He knew how to fight wars. He did not know how to make small talk with ambassadors and ministers. "You look uncomfortable," said President Maria Santos. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been leading humanity for 8 years. "I am uncomfortable," Cole admitted. "I should be on my ship." "You are exactly where you need to be, Admiral." The Volanthi asked for you specifically. "Why?" The president smiled. "I think you will find out soon." The doors of the Grand Hall opened. The Volanthi delegation entered with all the ceremony their culture demanded. There were dozens of them. Tall figures with silver skin and violet eyes, dressed in robes that seemed to be made of pure light. Musicians walked among them, playing instruments that made sounds humans could barely hear. The air itself seemed to shimmer around them. Cole had seen Volanthi before. He had fought alongside them in several battles. But he had never seen anything like this. And then he saw her. She walked at the center of the group. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with the graceful movement of her people. Her silver skin seemed to glow from within, like moonlight given form. Her violet eyes were deep and wise. She wore a crown made of what looked like frozen starlight and robes that changed color with every step. She was beautiful. More beautiful than anything Cole had ever seen. She was also familiar. "Is that?" he started to say. "Empress Lyrian," the president said quietly. "She took the throne 3 years ago. The last of House Solvent. Empress." The little girl he had carried through fire was now the ruler of one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. The formal introductions began. The Volanthi foreign minister gave a long speech about the importance of the alliance. He talked about shared values and common enemies. He talked about the future of both their peoples. Cole barely heard any of it. He could not stop looking at Lirin. She stood perfectly still throughout the speech, her face calm and regal. She looked like a statue made of silver and light. But her eyes moved constantly, scanning the room. When they found Cole, they stopped. The president began introducing the human delegation, ministers, generals, admirals. When she reached Cole, she said, "Admiral Cole Bennett, commander of our defense fleet." Lyrian stepped forward. The foreign minister looked surprised. This was not part of the protocol. "Admiral Bennett," she said. Her voice was like music, soft and clear. "We have met before." The entire hall went silent. Everyone was staring at them. Cole bowed his head. "I am honored that your Imperial Majesty remembers. I told you I would remember." She took another step toward him, breaking every rule of Volanthi ceremony. "I told you I would always remember." She reached out and placed her hand on his chest, right over his heart. Just like she had done 15 years ago. "You still carry the scar," she said. "I can feel it. You received it saving my life." "I was doing my duty, Your Majesty." "No." Her voice was firm but gentle. "You were being human. That is something far more important than duty." The diplomatic reception that followed was strange. Normally at these events, the leaders would talk only to other leaders. Ministers would talk to ministers. That was how things were done. But Lyrian stayed near Cole the entire evening. She asked him questions about everything. About human food and human music and human art. About the wars he had fought and the places he had seen. About his childhood on Earth and his family. Cole answered as best he could. He was not good at conversation, but something about Lyrian made him want to try. "Why are you asking me all this?" He finally said, "There are people here far more important than me." "There is no one here more important than you," Lyrian said. "Not to me." Cole did not know what to say to that. The evening continued. Politicians made speeches. Agreements were discussed. The alliance between humans and Volanthi began to take shape. But Cole could think only about the woman standing beside him. As the reception ended, Lyrian took his hand. The Volanthi around them looked shocked. Taking someone's hand was a gesture of deep respect in their culture. For an empress to do it publicly was almost unheard of. "I have a request," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I request that Admiral Bennett be assigned as the human liaison to my court. He will serve as a bridge between our peoples." The room went quiet again. Cole opened his mouth to protest. He had a fleet to command. He had responsibilities. He could not just leave everything to go play diplomat on an alien world. But then Lyrian looked at him with those violet eyes, and he remembered the little girl he had saved. He remembered how she had looked at him with such trust, such hope. "I would be honored," he heard himself say. The president smiled like she had expected this all along. The Volanthi foreign minister looked like he had swallowed something sour. But Lyrian smiled, and that was the only thing that mattered. "Thank you," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "I have waited 15 years for this." "For what?" "To see you again. To thank you properly. To—" She paused. "To know the man who showed me that there is good in the universe." Cole felt something warm spread through his chest. He did not have words for what he was feeling. He was not sure he wanted to find them. "When do I leave?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Lyrian said. "If that is acceptable." It was not acceptable. There were 1,000 things he needed to do first. 1,000 responsibilities he needed to hand over. But he looked at her and nodded. "Tomorrow," he agreed. That night, alone in his quarters, Cole looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Volanthi homeworld. Somewhere out there was a woman who had never forgotten him. He thought about the little girl crying in the ruins of a palace. He thought about the weight of her in his arms as he ran through fire. He thought about the pain in his shoulder and the fear in his heart and the desperate need to save her. He had not thought about why he did it. He had just done it. But now, 15 years later, he wondered if somehow he had known. If somehow he had understood that saving that little girl would change everything. He touched the scar on his shoulder. "I remember too," he said to the empty room. I never stopped remembering. In the morning, he would leave for the Volanthi homeworld. He would see Lyrian again. He would try to be the bridge between their peoples that she wanted him to be. He did not know what would happen next. But for the first time in years, he was looking forward to finding out. The Volanthi homeworld was called Valara. It was a planet of crystal and light. Cole had seen many worlds in his years of service. Desert planets and ice planets, worlds covered in jungle and worlds covered in ocean. But he had never seen anything like Valara. The cities were made of crystal towers that grew from the ground like living things. They caught the light of the 3 suns and scattered it into rainbows that danced across the streets. Gardens floated in the air, held up by technology that Cole did not understand. Music seemed to come from everywhere, soft and beautiful. It was like walking through a dream. Cole felt out of place from the moment he arrived. He was the only human on the entire planet. The Volanthi were polite to him. They treated him with respect because of what he had done for their empress. But he could see the way they looked at him when they thought he was not watching. He was different, strange, an outsider. Lyrian tried to make him feel welcome. She gave him rooms in the palace, beautiful chambers with walls that seemed to be made of captured starlight. She assigned servants to take care of his needs. She made sure he had human food to eat and human clothes to wear, but it was not enough. Cole still felt like he did not belong. Then she started spending time with him. It began with small things. She would invite him to walk with her in the crystal gardens. She would ask him to sit with her while she ate dinner. She would come to his chambers late at night just to talk. At first, Their conversations were about politics, the alliance between humans and Volanthi, the threat of the Keth, the future of the galaxy. Cole was comfortable with these topics. They were things he understood. But slowly, the conversations became more personal. "Tell me about your family," Lyrian said one evening. They were walking through a garden where the flowers glowed with inner light. "There is not much to tell," Cole said. "My parents were farmers on Earth. They died when I was young. I joined the military because I had nowhere else to go." "You had no one?" "No one." Lyrian was quiet for a moment. "I understand what that is like. The attack that killed my family. I lost everyone. My mother, my father, my brothers. I was the only one who survived, because I saved you. Yes." She looked at him with those violet eyes. "Because you saved me. A stranger. A human. You risked your life for a child you did not know." Cole shrugged. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," her voice was firm. "They would not have. I have studied your species, Cole. Humans are capable of great cruelty, but they are also capable of great kindness. You showed me that. You showed my entire people that." They walked in silence for a while. The flowers around them pulsed with soft light, like heartbeats. "My advisors think I spend too much time with you," Lyrian said finally. "They are probably right. They say it is not proper. The Empress should not be friends with a human. It sends the wrong message." Cole stopped walking. "Then maybe I should go. Maybe this was a mistake." Lyrian turned to face him. In the glow of the flowers, her silver skin seemed almost golden. "No," she said. "They are wrong. They did not see what I saw. They did not feel what I felt when you carried me through fire. They do not understand." "Understand what?" Lyrian stepped closer to him, so close that he could feel the warmth of her skin. "When I was a child," she said softly, "I thought I was going to die. The palace was burning. I was trapped. I could hear the Keth coming to kill me. And then you appeared. This strange creature with soft skin and frightened eyes. You were injured. You were scared. But you saved me anyway." She reached out and touched his chest, right over his heart. "I have thought about you every day since then," she said. "I have wondered who you were, what you were doing, if you were happy, if you were alive. I have sent people to watch your career. I have read every report about your battles. I have seen you become a hero to your people." Cole's heart was beating hard. "Lyrian, when I became Empress, I knew I would find you again. I knew I would bring you here, because I needed to understand." "Understand what?" "Why you saved me. Why you risked everything for a stranger." Cole thought about that night 15 years ago. He thought about the fire and the fear and the weight of a child in his arms. "I do not know," he said honestly. "I just knew I could not leave you there. I heard you crying and something inside me. I could not walk away. I would rather die than walk away." Lyrian smiled. It was a beautiful smile, sad and happy at the same time. "That," she said, "is what makes you human. That is what makes your species special. You care even when it costs you everything." She leaned forward and kissed him. It was a soft kiss, gentle and uncertain, but it sent fire through Cole's body. He had never felt anything like it. When she pulled back, her violet eyes were bright. "I have wanted to do that for 15 years, she said. "Lyrian." Cole struggled to find words. "This is impossible. You are an empress. I am just a soldier. Our peoples, they will never accept this." "I do not care what they accept," Lyrian said. "I care about you. I care about the man who saved my life. The man who showed me that the universe is not all darkness and cruelty. The man I have loved since I was 6 years old." Cole stared at her. "Loved?" "Yes, loved. I know it seems strange. I was a child. But that moment when you carried me through fire, something happened to me. I knew that you were special. I knew that I would never forget you. And I never did. She took his hands in hers. Her skin was cool and smooth, like touching metal that had been polished for centuries. I am not asking you to marry me, she said. I am not asking for forever. I am just asking you to give us a chance. To see if what I feel is real. To see if you could ever feel the same way. Cole looked at her. This impossible, beautiful creature who ruled an empire. Who had power beyond anything he could imagine. Who could have anyone in the galaxy. And she wanted him. I am not a good man, he said. I have done terrible things in war. I have killed. I have made choices that haunt me. I do not want a good man, Lyrian said. I want you. The man who saves children from fire. The man who never leaves anyone behind. The man who sees a stranger in pain and cannot walk away. Cole was silent for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before. He let go of his fear. I do not know if I love you, he said. I do not know what I feel. But I know that I have thought about you too. That little girl with the violet eyes. I never forgot her. And when I saw you again, something happened to me too. Lyrian's smile grew brighter. Then stay, she said. Stay with me. Let us find out together what this is. Cole nodded. I will stay. They kissed again, beneath the light of 3 moons, in a garden made of living crystal. And for the first time in his life, Cole Bennett felt like he had found something worth fighting for that had nothing to do with war. The secret did not last long. Within weeks, everyone knew that Empress Lyrian was in love with a human. The news spread across the Volanthi Empire like fire through dry grass. It spread to human space. It spread to every corner of the galaxy. The reaction was not good. The Volanthi High Council demanded a meeting with their Empress. There were 12 of them, old and powerful members of the noble houses. They had served the throne for centuries. They did not like change. This is unacceptable, said Lord Cavith, the oldest of them. His silver skin had faded to gray with age, but his violet eyes were still sharp. The Empress cannot have a relationship with a human. It is against our traditions. It is against nature. Lyrian sat on her crystal throne and looked at him calmly. I do not recall asking for your permission. This is not about permission, said Lady Cirith, another council member. This is about the future of our people. You are the last of House Solvent. If you do not produce an heir, the royal line ends. And you cannot produce an heir with a human. We do not know that, Lyrian said. Our species are compatible in many ways. Perhaps we are compatible in this way too. You would risk everything on perhaps? Lord Cavith shook his head. This human has corrupted your thinking. You should send him away before he does more damage. The human, Lyrian said, her voice growing cold, saved my life. He carried me through fire while your soldiers ran away. He took a plasma bolt to protect a child he did not know. Do not speak of him with disrespect. The council fell silent. But Cole could see that they were not convinced. The human reaction was just as bad. Politicians back on. Earth called Cole a traitor. They said he had abandoned his duties to chase an alien woman. They questioned his loyalty. They questioned his sanity. Military leaders were even worse. They said Cole had been compromised. That the Volanthi were using him for some secret purpose. That his judgment could no longer be trusted. The news networks ran stories about them every day. They showed pictures of Cole and Lyrian walking in the gardens. They brought in experts to explain why the relationship was wrong. They interviewed people who said terrible things about both of them. Cole tried not to let it bother him. He had faced worse than angry politicians and cruel reporters. But he could see how much it hurt Lyrian. Maybe they are right, he said one night. They were in her private chambers, away from the eyes of the court. Maybe I should leave. Go back to my fleet. Forget this ever happened. No. Lyrian's voice was firm. I will not let them win. I will not let fear decide my future. This is not about fear. This is about what is best for your people. What is best for my people? Lyrian stood up and began to pace. My people were dying when your ship came to our moon. My people were being slaughtered by the Keth. And who saved us? Not the Volanti Council. Not our ancient traditions. A human. A single human who refused to walk away. She turned to face him. You showed us that we are not alone in the universe. You showed us that there are good people out there who will fight for strangers. That is why the alliance with humanity matters. That is why you matter. Cole shook his head. I am just one man. One man can change everything. Lyrian walked to him and took his hands. You changed everything for me. You gave me hope when I had none. You gave me a reason to believe that the universe is not all darkness. She kissed him softly. I love you, Cole Bennett. I have loved you for 15 years. And I will not give you up just because some old politicians are scared of change. Things got worse before they got better. A faction within the Volanti military began speaking openly against Lyrian. They were led by High Commander Kareth, a decorated warrior who had served the throne for decades. He said that the Empress had been corrupted by human influence, that she was unfit to lead. Cole recognized the signs. He had seen enough governments fall to know when a coup was coming. They're going to move against you, he told Lyrian. Probably soon, I know. She did not seem afraid. I have been expecting this for months. You have? Lyrian smiled. It was not a gentle smile. It was the smile of a warrior. Did you think I spent 15 years doing nothing? I knew there would be resistance. I prepared for it. How? By finding people who believe in the future, by building alliances within my own military, by waiting for the right moment. She touched his face. And by bringing you here. You are more than just the man I love, Cole. You are a symbol. You are proof that humans and Volanti can work together. When my people see you standing beside me, they see what we can become. The coup came 3 nights later. Cole woke to the sound of weapons fire. He grabbed the plasma rifle he kept beside his bed and ran into the hallway. The Volanti soldiers were everywhere, but he could not tell which ones were loyal and which ones were traitors. Then he saw Lyrian. She was standing in the throne room, surrounded by her personal guard. She was wearing armor that glowed with the same light as her crown. In her hand was a sword that seemed to be made of pure energy. Cole, she called. Get to the communications center. Contact your fleet. He ran. The communications center was 3 floors down. Cole fought his way through the halls, shooting any soldier who raised a weapon at him. He did not know how many he killed. He did not count. When he reached the center, he sent a message to the human ships waiting at the edge of Volanti space. Then he sent another message to the loyal Volanti forces that Lyrian had gathered over the years. The response was immediate. Human ships jumped into the system. Volanti warships loyal to the Empress moved to surround the capital. The traitors were trapped, but the battle was not over. Kareth had taken the palace walls. His soldiers were fighting their way toward the throne room. Lyrian was holding them off, but she could not hold forever. Cole ran back to help her. He found Kareth in the throne room. The High Commander was tall, even for a Volanti. His silver skin was covered in battle scars. His violet eyes burned with hatred. Human, he spat. You have destroyed our Empress. You have poisoned her mind. For that, you will die. He drew his sword. A blade of crystal that sang as it cut through the air. Cole raised his rifle. I do not want to fight you, he said. Then you will die a coward. Kareth attacked. Cole fired. But the High Commander was fast. He dodged the plasma bolt and closed the distance between them. His sword cut through Cole's rifle like it was made of paper. Cole drew the Volante blade that Lyrian had given him. He had been training with it for months, but he was not a master. Not like Kareth. They fought. The throne room echoed with the sound of their blades. Cole was faster than a human should be, thanks to his military training. But Kareth was stronger and more skilled. Cole took a cut to his arm, another to his leg. Blood dripped onto the crystal floor. "You cannot win," Kareth said. "You are just a human, weak, fragile, pathetic." Cole thought about Lyrian. He thought about the little girl he had saved. He thought about the future they could have together. He stopped being afraid. "I am human," he agreed. "And that means I never give up." He attacked with everything he had. His blade moved faster than it ever had before. He did not think about technique. He did not think about training. He just fought. Kareth's eyes widened. He had not expected this. Cole's blade found his heart. The High Commander fell. Cole stood over him, breathing hard. His wounds were bleeding. His body was screaming with pain. But he was alive. Lyrian ran to him. "Cole!" She caught him as he started to fall. "You did it. You stopped him." "We stopped him," Cole said. "Together." She kissed him, there in the throne room, surrounded by the bodies of the traitors. It was not a gentle kiss. It was a kiss of victory, of survival, of love. The Volante people watched the recording of the battle. They saw a human defend their empress. They saw a human defeat their greatest warrior. They saw a human bleed and fight, and refuse to give up. And something changed. The opposition to Lyrian's relationship with Cole did not disappear overnight, but it began to fade. The people had seen what humanity could do. They had seen what Cole could do. They began to believe that maybe, just maybe, their empress was right. 1 year after the failed coup, Empress Lyrian of the Volante Dominion married Admiral Cole Bennett of the United Earth Defense Fleet. The wedding was held in the Crystal Gardens, where they had shared their first kiss. Representatives from 100 worlds came to watch. Humans and Volante stood side by side. Old enemies became witnesses to something new. Cole stood at the altar, wearing his white dress uniform. The scar on his shoulder was visible through the fabric. He had refused to have it removed. It was part of his story. Part of their story. The music started. A blend of human and Volante traditions that had taken months to create. It was beautiful and strange. Like everything about their relationship, Lyrian appeared at the end of the garden path. She wore a gown of woven starlight that had been in her family for 10,000 years. Her crown sparkled like captured stars. Her silver skin glowed with an inner light that Cole had learned meant. She was happy. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. She walked toward him slowly, following the ancient traditions of her people. Each step was a symbol. Each gesture had meaning that went back thousands of years. Cole did not understand all of it, but he understood enough. When she reached him, she took his hands. Her violet eyes were bright with tears. "I never thought this day would come," she said quietly. "For so long, you were just a dream. A memory. A hope that kept me going through the dark years. I am here now," Cole said. "I am not going anywhere." The ceremony was long and complex. Human priests spoke their words. Volante high priests spoke theirs. Vows were exchanged in both languages. Cole promised to protect Lyrian for as long as he lived. Lyrian promised to stand beside him through whatever challenges came. When it was over, when the final words had been spoken and the rituals completed, they kissed. The crowd cheered. Humans and Volante together, celebrating something that had seemed impossible just a few years ago. After the ceremony, Lyrian led Cole to a balcony overlooking the capital city. Below them, Millions of people had gathered to see their empress and her new husband. "Do you see them?" Lyrian asked. Cole looked down. He saw Valanti with silver skin standing next to humans with brown and black and white skin. He saw children of both species playing together. He saw soldiers who had once been enemies now standing as allies. "I see them," he said. "This is what you created," Lyrian said. "All of this started with you. That night when you carried a frightened child out of fire. You changed everything. I just did what anyone would do." Lyrian shook her head. "No, you did what a human would do. You saw a stranger in danger, and you could not walk away. That is not common, Cole. That is not normal. That is something special about your species." She turned to face the crowd and raised her voice so all could hear. "My people," she said. "Today I present to you my husband, Cole Bennett, human, soldier, the man who saved my life. The man who showed us that we do not have to face the darkness alone." The crowd roared. The sound was like thunder rolling across the city. Cole had never been comfortable with praise. He had never wanted to be a hero. He was just a man who did what he thought was right. But standing there with Lyrian beside him, listening to the voices of two civilizations celebrating together, he felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt hope. The years that followed were not easy. There were still people who opposed the alliance. There were still battles to fight. The Keth hegemony had not disappeared. Other threats emerged. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but Cole and Lyrian faced those challenges together. When the Keth launched their final offensive, it was human and Valanti ships that stopped them. Cole commanded the fleet from his flagship, while Lyrian coordinated the defense from her palace. They worked together like two parts of the same machine. The Keth were defeated. Not just pushed back, but truly beaten. Their empire collapsed. Their fleet scattered. The threat they had posed for centuries was finally ended. Historians called it the turning point of galactic history. The moment when humanity and the Valanti proved that cooperation was stronger than conquest. 5 years after their wedding, Lyrian gave birth to a daughter, Dot. No one had been sure it was possible. Human and Valanti had never mixed before. The doctors had warned them that the child might not survive, but she did survive. She was small and perfect, with silver skin like her mother and gray eyes like her father. She was the first of her kind, a bridge between two peoples in living form. They named her Elena. Cole held his daughter in his arms and felt tears running down his face. He thought about the night he had carried Lyrian through fire. He thought about the pain and the fear and the desperate need to save her. He had not known then that he was not just saving a child. He was saving the future. "She is beautiful," Lyrian said, lying in her bed exhausted but happy. "She looks like you," Cole said. "She has your eyes, your strength. She will be extraordinary." Cole looked at his wife, at his daughter, at the life he had never expected to have. "How did we get here?" he asked. Lyrian smiled. "You made a choice. 16 years ago, you heard a child crying and you made a choice. Everything else followed from that. It was just instinct. I did not think about it. That is what makes it matter. You did not think. You just acted. Because that is who you are. That is what humans do." She reached out and took his hand. "You showed me that the universe is not all darkness. You showed my people that they did not have to be alone. You showed the entire galaxy that one act of kindness can change everything." Cole sat down beside her bed. Still holding Elena, his daughter made a soft sound and grabbed his finger with her tiny hand. "I was just a soldier," he said. "You are still a soldier, but you are also a husband, a father, a symbol. You are the man who carried a princess out of fire and ended up changing the galaxy." Cole thought about that. He thought about all the battles he had fought, all the people he had saved, all the choices he had made. In the end, none of them had mattered as much as one moment of instinct. One choice to help a stranger. One refusal to walk away. "I would do it again," he said. "I know," Lyrian said. "That is why I love you." Years later, when Cole was old and gray, he would tell the story to his grandchildren. Human children with Valanthi blood. Valanthi children with human courage. He would tell them about the burning moon. About the little girl with violet eyes. About the weight of her in his arms as he ran through fire. He would tell them that one person can make a difference. That kindness is not weakness. That the choice to help a stranger is the most human thing anyone can do. And his grandchildren would listen, their eyes wide with wonder, and they would believe him, because they had seen it themselves. They lived in a galaxy that had been shaped by that one moment. They were the proof that humanity, at its best, could change everything. That was Cole Bennett's legacy. Not the battles he won. Not the enemies he defeated. But one simple act of kindness on a burning moon, 16 years before the galaxy learned what humans were really made of. He saved a child because he could not walk away, and the child never forgot. The end.